So we just stopped and pulled over here real quick because we've only got 1.35 miles in and I already want this bike. Compared to the BMC, this Pinarello is a rocket ship and makes my BMC kind of feel like a wet noodle of spaghetti. So I've been having some back pain recently on my current setup, and that's kind of put me in the market for a new bike, looking at some different geometries. And today, it just happened to be a lucky day. I'm here at Serious Cycling and they've set me up with this new Pinarello Dogma F. All right, so this is the current version of the Pinarello Dogma F. So on here, something that's new on this bike that's not on my other bike that I'll be able to try is actually the 12-speed setup. My current bike is Dura-Ace 11-speed, and this demo bike has Ultegra 12-speed. So the wheels and tires that came on the demo bike, I didn't care for, so I wanted to use my exact setup so I can also have a head-to-head comparison, but also I like running these 30C tires, and what came on it was 26Cs, which for me is just a little bit too narrow. So what the shop did was take off the rear cassette that was on the demo bike and throw it onto my group set since it's all Shimano, and now I have 12 speed on my current wheel, so I'll be able to try that today and test that and how that feels against my current 11-speed setup. Up here at the cockpit is the new Talon Ultra Fast one-piece bar and stem combo. This is a 110. On my current BMC, I have a 120, so I'll be interested to see how the 110 compares to the 120. I probably won't notice the difference, to be honest. They also threw on my saddle, so again, I have the same feel that I had on my current bike setup and can compare the Pinarello directly head-to-head. So we just stopped and pulled over here real quick because we've only got 1.35 miles in and I already want this bike. So this Pinarello definitely feels a lot stiffer, more responsive, and has more direct energy transfer than my BMC. And again, I can already tell that within a mile and a half. So really interested to see how this bike feels the rest of the ride. The BMC is a great bike. It feels very nimble and agile, where this bike has all of that response, but it also seems to ride and track a little straighter without you having to necessarily think about it, if that makes sense. Hey! I did one little out of the saddle effort and instantly the bike just propelled me up the kicker a lot more than my BMC did. This is actually kind of amazing. I didn't think it would be this big of a difference. My BMC is a 2021. This is the new 24. And so I think there is a lot to be said there with just the technologies of carbon and the layup in the last several years. Now I have had a Pinarello F10 before, and to be honest, I really did not like that bike at all. It kind of felt dead, not lively, heavy and clunky. This Pinarello F feels completely different. Here's another little rise in the road right now, and it just really does feel effortless, a lot more than the BMC. The BMC, fantastic bike. This bike so far definitely feels better. This is what I mean about tracking truer, is it's like less work on the front end to keep the bike going straight and true to course. I could even take my hands off and have no problems at all maintaining a straight line. Compared to the BMC, this Pinarello is a rocket ship and makes my BMC kind of feel like a wet noodle of spaghetti. I think that's pretty fair to say. But yeah, this thing, I don't pay attention to the mount. It's not right. I'll put a different adapter on here later, but this thing so far is handling really well. I just did a little 30-second sprint effort up a kicker here, and his bike is definitely more lively. I'm just gonna keep saying it has that propulsion factor to it. It's the best way I can describe it. You get out of the saddle or put a little dig in, and the bike just wants to keep propelling you forward. It's also noticeably more aero than my BMC. I definitely see the speed holding where my BMC drags just a little bit. Now I know a lot of that is rider position, but I'm comparing this head to head And I haven't changed anything about my riding position. So right now I'm coming up Treasure Hill, which is just a short little kicker in the area, about 8%. And I'm gonna keep saying this and repeating it. Sorry, it's gonna get a little annoying, but the bike just feels stiffer. There's definitely more direct power transfer going through that bottom bracket. And it really is like you're being propelled uphill a little bit more. Now the BMC was never known to be the stiffest bottom bracket. I think even some of the pro riders complained about that. This bike is definitely legendary for being stiff, and I can definitely feel that, but it's not harsh at all. In fact, these bumps in the road, I feel like this bike handles better than my current BMC, which I didn't expect. All right, so I just finished a little downhill over my shoulder here off Pinarello, testing how this bike feels downhill. And this compared to my BMC, again, you could definitely feel those aero benefits. The other thing about this bike is it just feels like it tracks a little bit cleaner, holds its line a little bit better, and feels like the bike is on rails. And what I mean by that is I think it has a lot to do with the aerodynamic properties of the bike, more specifically the fork, where it kind of catches the wind and acts like a baffle to help steer that fork around, but keeps it very stable at the same time. My current BMC has really no aero benefits or aero claims whatsoever by BMC, so it really is no surprise that this bike is gonna feel better downhill. I've been down this hill many times on my BMC, and compared to the Pinarello just holds speed a lot better. Even with a slight headwind today, it is way more noticeable with the aero benefits of the Pinarello over the BMC. Many times on this BMC downhill, I'd actually have to pedal to keep my speed, or if I wanted to catch a friend, I would have to pedal pretty hard to be able to catch them. On the Pinarello, I feel like I can maintain speed a lot easier. For an aero bike, I wouldn't expect anything different. Now, I can also compare this Pinarello F to an F10 I used to have, and I will say that this new F is nothing like the F10 whatsoever. The older F10 was very laborious. It felt like you really had to push it forward. It was their first attempt at aero, and I don't think they got it right, but I really think over the years they fixed all of those problems, especially on this new Dogma F. Now, one thing I like about the BMC so much is that it is a little bit softer and a little bit more compliant on that bottom bracket, which makes longer days in the saddle a little bit better. It doesn't fatigue you as much. On the F10, and I used to have a S-Works Venge as well, they were so stiff, it would rattle you, and it would feel great when you're out of the saddle sprinting or on the flats. Over a long day, all of the vibrations kind of wear you down, so I'm very interested to see how this bike feels. One of the other things I noticed coming down this hill, which I really like, is the shape of these handlebars. Again, sorry, don't pay attention to the Garmin mount here, but the handlebars flare out a little bit in the drops. And not only are they flared in the drops, but they kind of have this oval shape to them. It's kind of hard to tell on camera, but the drops have an oval shape that fit your hands really well. The BMC is just a normal round drop, and that's comfortable, but these bars are even better and even more comfortable. Something I didn't even think about that I actually like quite a bit. Another thing that instantly stands out to me is the shifting performance of this new 12-speed Ultegra group set. I can definitely tell that the newer Ultegra 12-speed not only shifts a little bit firmer, but also shifts faster as well. So it is true what they say about trickle-down technology. The current version of Ultegra definitely feels better than the slightly older version of the Dura-Ace. All right, well, I'm just gonna finish my training right here and take it nice and easy and head back to where I started. Well, there is definitely some type of aero magicness going on, because through that little stretch, my wheels have never made that noise, that whooshing and whooshing sound. My wheels have never done it on my BMC. On this bike, without even pedaling much, I had that whooshing sound. Makes me sound like a pro. So there's definitely some aero goodness happening with this bike. All right, so one little tiny minor thing that I am starting to pick up on. There's really no wind right here, but going through the farmland, there was a little bit of a crosswind, cross headwind more specifically. And as you would expect from an aero bike, it does catch the side profile a little bit. Really nothing major whatsoever. Kind of a non-issue for me, I can handle that, no problem. But it's just something that I thought was worth noting. Another thing to note is just how comfortable this bike has been. As I mentioned, it is stiffer than the BMC. I can definitely feel that through the bottom bracket, but over these little bumps and cracks in the road, I think it's absorbing everything really well. Again, I threw on my wheels and tires onto this bike so I can get a true head-to-head comparison, really just looking at the frame set. And I will say it does feel a little bit smoother than the BMC. Another thing I'm noticing about this Pinarello is just the noise. Like, it just sounds fast even though I'm going 18 miles an hour. It has that slight whoosh or hum sound coming out of the front forks and the front wheel. Not even really pedaling hard at all, but it just sounds like I'm moving through the air so fast. Kind of crazy. I don't think it's gonna pick it up on microphone, but this bike definitely has a unique sound to it. So from a cosmetic perspective, one of the most notable things that stands out to me is this beautiful silhouette the bike has. I really do think it looks good. At first, I wasn't really a fan of this kind of squiggly line in the fork, but I've kind of grown to like it. As far as the color goes, it's a pretty bright color, but I'm orange myself, so I really have no room to talk there. If I were to get one of these bikes, I think I may keep the black and do the yellow orange. What do you guys think? What color should I do? Currently right now it has a 52-36 and 11-30 on the back. If I were to get this, I would put probably a 50-34 up front and 11-32 out here in the back. You can't really blame me. We have some pretty steep climbs out here in Southern California, especially in the Malibu area where there's gradients upwards of 15%. Another thing that's really nice and comfortable about these bars is that they are more narrow from center to center in the hoods, but flare out toward the end. Really makes being in the drops very comfortable and easy to control the bike. So after 2 hours and only 30 miles, is this bike living up to the hype that I thought it would? Honestly, yes. So this bike feels stiff and comfortable all at the same time. Combining that with all the aero benefits, to me, this is definitely a winner. So today's ride was just a really easy Zone 2 ride, and I just wanted to get the bike set up to make sure it was the way that I wanted to be. Transferred all my fit numbers over, again, the wheels and cassette. Thank you again to all the guys at Serious Cycling for putting this together. So I have this bike for the rest of the week, and I'm really looking forward to putting in some longer endurance rides on it and taking it where the bike is meant to live, up in the mountains. But I just wanted to make this quick video as I'm riding this bike for the first time in real time to give you guys my initial reactions. If you guys have any questions for me, either about my ride experience or about this bike, please leave them in the comments below. If you guys have a Dogma F, I'd also love to know your riding experience and how the bike feels to you. Leave those in the comments below as well. If you guys like this video, please consider liking and subscribing, coming back and watching some more. You can also find me on Instagram at Strava, all at the Orange Helmet Guy. Well, for those that have seen my video, this is the infamous lake that I'm always talking about, so I'm gonna go grab some coffee with the wife and puppies. Thank you guys again so much for watching. Until next time, the Orange Helmet Guy, out.